Thanks, Peter, and I will welcome any presents any of those mayors would like to give me to see if they can influence that sweepstakes. Seriously, it is a great honor to have Administrator Rogoff here. You can tell by both, again, the vision that he expresses on behalf of the Obama administration that we have more opportunities to look forward to. These projects get done by a lot of planning, a lot of hard work, and those planning efforts and the partnerships we have are in fact embodied in what Metro does and the work that they are a key part of being able to pull together. The high capacity transit study, a whole series of other things that are underway. I would like to welcome our next speaker, Metro President David Bragdon. But you ought to know that David isn't just a planner. In fact, he had in his youth, for example, he found that instead of going out to party or to do other things, play with other kids, he would ride the transit lines in this city. I think once challenging, could he ride every bus line in a single day? He takes the train to meetings around the country. David is somebody who believes in public transit and uses it. Please welcome David Bragdon.
It's just a delight to be able to follow the Federal Transit Administrator. What a refreshing message to get from our federal government. I have to say, Peter, some things really have changed. For 8 years, we kind of had the feeling the preceding regime in the federal government, what's the best way to put that? We had the feeling they were keeping their eye on Portland. They probably had some files on Earl as well, but very different today. It's great also to follow. Peter and I discovered last night, we've actually been sort of following each other for about 50 years now and hadn't actually met. We were in college 50 miles apart and a year apart. We grew up a few miles apart from each other in New York City, and our favorite transit line was the very same one. I think he was kind of like me as a kid. It was the number 7 from Grand Central to Flushing. But Peter, I have to say today, I think we have a new favorite transit line today, which is the Green Line here. But as one New Yorker to another, let me tell you, with the opening of this line, Portland now has something that New York has, and I bet a lot of people here don't know this either. Little known fact, dating from the 1980s when the line was engineered, and the right-of-way was set aside as ODOT built Interstate 205. You'll see when you ride it today, there's a point where it moves from the north side of the highway to the south side, and it goes through a tunnel that is right underneath Lincoln Street. So yes, that is right. Portland has its own Lincoln Tunnel. But right here, there's some great history here, and it's worth remembering today. It was a sunny autumn day in Oregon 23 years ago in Gresham, when a lot of the people who are here and others who are no longer here gathered to open the first line from Gresham. And unlike today, though, that was not pure celebration. That was not all just optimism the way it is today. There's a lot of trepidation. There's a lot of anxiety then. There were a lot of naysayers then. The best, some people would say, well, maybe this one weird experiment would last. And the worst people would say, well, people are going to get electrocuted walking across. It's not going to last at all. Of course, none of that turned out to be true. Turned out to be true because there were people like Earl Blumenauer and others who've been mentioned here today who had the courage to make some what were actually unpopular decisions at the time, and courageous and visionary decisions. And those visions are the ones that have come true. And they've come true not because of transportation, because really this isn't about how we get around. It's about the type of neighborhoods we want to have, the type of communities we want to have, the type of clean air we want to breathe, the kind of access to jobs and opportunity that we want to have. So as we celebrate the new line today, let's also think about those communities that have developed around the lines that existed and the vision that has come true. The place where we stood 23 years ago, and Doug Oblitz and I were remembering this morning, remembering it as sort of a blighted field at that time. It was an abandoned mill that was out of business in Gresham. And if you stand there today, it's a shopping center, there are houses nearby, there's a high school community college joint venture where kids are going to learn about how to transition from high school to Mount Hood Community College, all within a few feet of that place where we stood with that dream 23 years ago. And if you continue east and you walk around the Hollywood neighborhood and you think about what exists within 5 minutes walk of the Hollywood Transit Station that did not exist 23 years ago, the businesses that exist there, the people who have homes there, or go on out to the west side where it was also a sunny Saturday in September, and the Vice President, Al Gore, was there. And if you walk around downtown Hillsborough today, what was a parking lot is now part of Pacific University, and people are being trained to be nurses and be part of the workforce there. If you go north, what was a motel, the cheesy run-down motel that was the source of a lot of police calls, is now the site of a place where families live, and a daycare center and a coffee shop are right next door to what had been an outmoded fire station, which is now a cultural center with arts and exhibits going on all the time. So that's what we're building here. We're building places like that. We're not just building a rail system. So on to Milwaukee, on to Tigard, on to Vancouver, and we'll keep building these types of places. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Although I was surprised that you didn't mention the baseball connection between you and Peter Rogoff. They apparently attended the same very special baseball game in New York, not realizing, of course, that they knew each other. But that'll be 9 years old, another story to be told.